However, again, more concrete proof of the 99.99% Nagas vote for independence in the plebiscite is again witnessed by India when Nagas totally boycott the first general election of Free India held from 1951 of 25 October, in which no Naga stood for election and no Naga voted. After seeing all these facts, government had no option left to claim Naga Hills as part of India. So the only option left was to use force and illegally occupy Nagalim against the consensus of the Naga people. Then by 1951, 19 of December 23, Naga delegation met Governor of Assam J. Ram Das in Shillong and handed him the result of the plebiscite to be forwarded to the government of India. But he refused. And by 1951, the 9th of December, on behalf of the Naga people, Fiso writes to Prime Minister Nehru discussing about the result of Naga plebiscite and the Naga people's desire for self-determination or independent Nagalim. Now, by 1952, 11 of March, three-man Naga delegation met B.M. Nehru in Delhi, and the result of Naga plebiscite is finally submitted to the President of India. Now, Naga delegation in the meeting with Prime Minister of India, Nehru told the Naga delegation in Delhi that whether heaven falls or India goes into pieces, I do not care. Let blood run red all over the country. I do not care. I will not allow Nagas to become independent. Now, this type of arrogant statement from Indian leaders portrayed the actual image of Indians, and the fact is, Nagas were only talking about recognizing each other's sovereignty as two different entities, that is, India and Nagalim. Nagas were not demanding independence from India, and there is no point of demanding Nagas independence from India either. The fact is that India had been under the British rule for nearly 200 years, whereas in case of the Nagas, British could administer only 1/3 of the Naga Hills till 1947. So there was no point of demanding Nagas independence from India, and moreover, Nagas were independent before Indians were. So the whole picture of India is starting to act as if Nagas were under them is funny and crinky and has no legal base either. And yes, Nagas do not subscribe to them. Nehru also made another statement in the Indian Parliament in which he said, I will station one Indian soldier for every tree in Naga Hills, and I will crush the Nagas within 1 week. And again, this is another statement by the Prime Minister of India, Nehru. So you can read it through. Here are some facts to be noted when we talk about Indo-Naga political issue. So, Nagas had never been officially under any foreign power by conquest or by consent, and there is no official written treaties or agreement between Nagas and the British or any foreign power that transferred Nagas to India or Burma or any other foreign power by the British. This fact was clearly stated by C.V. Aitchison in his official record as Under Secretary of Foreign Department, Government of India. C.V. Aitchison writes as no written treaties or agreement have been made with any Naga tribes. And Nagas fought to the nail when the Britishers came, and British could personally administer only 1/3 of the Naga areas till 1947. The remaining Naga areas were left unadministered, which was called unadministered, and almost 80% of the Naga country was left unconquered by the British till their departure from India. And Nagas have also clearly stated to the British government through several memorandums that Nagas are neither joining India or Burma. Now, talking on these historical facts, the question of Nagas asking for independence or granting independence to Nagas by India or any other foreign power doesn't arise. Now, it is funny how on earth could formerly conquered nation, that is India, grant independence to the unconquered nation Nagalim. And if the Naga national movement didn't exist prior to Indian independence, then India can claim that Nagas are trying to secede from Indian Union. But that is invalid otherwise, because Nagas movement for self-determination or independence is much more older than India's independence. And there cannot be secession when there was no union in the first place. So words like secession is used by mainstream Indian medias or even by some Nagas to distort Nagas political stand. And only people with zero knowledge of political history would believe that. So, looking at all these facts, Indo-Naga issue is clearly a case of illegal occupation or illegal invasion by India, and the conflict was created by India. Otherwise, Nagas had no problem whatsoever. The illegal or forced occupation or genocide or suppression of minorities is against the international laws and is a violation of international norms. And illegal occupation in the name of backward or uncivilized doesn't make sense, because every Naga villages were self-sufficient, happy and contented until Indians came. And if India really had concern for Naga people's civilization, then India should have taken control of Nagas before British did. So, be it religious, history, social, political, racial, way of life, food, looks, or whatever you can imagine, there is not a single similarity between the Nagas and the Indians. And the only solution to the Indo-Naga conflict is accepting these facts. So up till now, even today, Indians along with some Naga opportunists are trying so hard to distort the facts and history of the Nagas. But as the saying goes, truth cannot be hidden, and the only road to the solution of Indo-Naga political issue is acknowledging the truth. And India cannot keep on playing delay tactics or go on brainwashing few Naga section to distort facts. Nagas have acknowledged all these facts and truth, and I really don't know how long India is gonna take to accept this very truth.